am I even doing? Hello everyone, this is Dimensional Dynamo here. Just a quick update, Hell's Nightmare is currently on hiatus for, reasons that I did not foresee. But, I'm gonna be doing something a little bit different today to fill in the void. Today is a tutorial on how I shade in Procreate, so, yeah, that should be fun. I didn't have an actual character sketched out for this tutorial, so I just doodled a Grimmkin from Hollow Knight. And he's going to be, our example for today. I want to give him a name, but I'm not really sure. But, I have the reference image up here. It's right down there. I'd say I did a pretty good job at mimicking his design. Might as well just get rid of that now. I have the sketch down here. But, we're not even going to be focusing on any of that, because we're going to be focusing on shading and lighting, the differences between light and dark. So, right off the bat, once you have your, coloring and line art, you're gonna want to separate those two layers into 4 separate layers. 2 for shading and 2 for lighting. If I had a more detailed drawing, I would actually add a 3rd layer, because usually my more detailed works have a backlight. But, this is just a little simple doodle, so he only really gets that much. He only gets 4. But, right off the bat, for the shading, you're gonna want to choose a sort of dark color. You might want your shading to sort of mirror the style of your lighting, or the mood. As you can see, he's being surrounded by, fire, like red fire, so, I'm gonna be choosing this sort of dark fuchsia for the main shading. And, now, don't worry about the layer opacity, we'll get to that once we're done. But what you want to do, you want to pay attention to where the light source is. So you can see, if I just add this, you can see that there are 2 light sources pointing to him from above. So, apologies for my horrible arrow drawing. But as you can see, you gotta pay attention where the light source is to actually get a good feel. So if we go back, now we only really have to worry about, like where the actual light is coming from. And this is where you leave those parts unshaded. So for example, I would do his face. I would mainly sort of do this, I guess. Because the main light is coming from above, but I do think that this would look a bit better if it was in an opposite version of the arc. Primarily because, that's just kind of like how the main sort of body of an actual Grimmkin looks in game, because they do have shading on them, and primarily on the face, and it's usually, like, kind of looks like that, but it's, like, more round. But we're just worrying about this lighting, so, what we're gonna want to do. Don't worry about it as long as you're, so don't worry about, like, getting it on your line art. As long as, you have this in-between section, you're perfectly good to go. Once you're done with that, so we're just gonna be doing his face. So you can see, there's, like, a very clear, like, way to tell where the light source is going. So, I'm gonna leave this part unshaded because, actually, no, I shouldn't do that. We're gonna worry about this side. So we're gonna leave this unshaded. Like this area right here. And that's because there's another light source. It's fairly small. But, we're gonna wanna... It's a very harsh light source, so we're gonna... It's completely fine to add, like, shading like this. But just make sure that it's never, like this, because then you get a weird effect. Unless it's a backlight, if it's a backlight, but I'm gonna have to make an entirely separate tutorial on backlighting if you want to see that. But here, you also want to pay attention to, like, where the staff is going, because, the light... It's a giant stick, and sticks cause shadows, so you know what I'm trying to convey, okay? I'm confused. I don't know what I'm saying. I've never done a voiceover before. What the f am I even doing? Anyway, So what you're gonna want to do next is you're just gonna, you know, continue doing this. And as you can see, you've got a pretty pronounced light source. Now, next up, the staff. You don't have to worry about the staff that much. I just want to focus on the character, but this is purely on impulse because, you know, I like my perfection. It appears that the color's actually a bit lighter, which is strange. I don't usually have that happen to me that much. But, it's not that difficult to cover up. Really all I need to do is just select a darker color. Like, you see, it's still like very clearly a shade of pink. So you just need to keep like the color consistent no matter how dark it is. However, I do think this is still a bit too dark, so we're gonna go back up a bit. And now we actually have a pretty decent in-between state that we can work with, but we haven't tested it out here. Now that's like a midway point, but it will have to do because I'm not trying this any farther. So we're just gonna get that all done. Now for this little part, just make sure anything that's like facing the light source and it's clearly away from a shadow, just make sure that that is unshaded, because you're gonna want that there. I've seen people, particularly like younger or amateur artists, do this thing where, I can't really show it, but I can show it here. Do this thing where, they, have this, where they have their character sketched out, but they only shade the outside of the body. And it's really weird looking, and I don't like it. And that's why I just want you to pay attention to the light source as much as you can. It will be a f***ing god set once you're done with it. Oh my god. I don't want to turn this down. Well, whatever. So after you got that done, also, if you're drawing on Procreate, don't worry about whatever that was. That's just a glitch that tends to happen. It doesn't even faze me anymore, to be honest. But once you're done with that, now you want to worry about the opacity. Now, the opacity is something that you can do on your own terms. I personally think that this is pretty fitting for the opacity, so, 35, that works. I primarily have a lot of trouble shading darker characters because, it's kind of hard to, like, get the shading just the right amount of saturated, but also simultaneously, like, dark enough where it isn't overshadowed by the actual character's body. So, that's another thing that I tend to worry about, which is confusing, because I just so happen to be drawing a character from a game that has a lot of dark on him. But that's fine. So, I might sound weird, but I think that's because of, I don't necessarily have allergies, but I do have, like, this sort of reaction to, like, early summer bullshittery, and that's exactly what's going on here in northern Canada. We got early summers. Also, there may or may not be a storm this weekend, which, if you follow me on Twitter, you know I am fucking terrified of thunderstorms. So that's fun. That should be great. Like, fucking Christ. Anyway. So yeah, you're gonna wanna do the exact same thing, but just on a smaller scale. Now, don't worry about, like, using settings to help you out. You don't have to be embarrassed about it. Digital art has settings for a reason. Use them. Please. This is something I don't see people do enough. Yeah, that's a interesting case. So what I'm trying to get across is that lighting is actually pretty easy, as long as you know where the light source is. And shading, that's pretty much the same thing goes, just the opposite direction. And we're focusing on shading right now, but we won't be, like, right now, because now we're time to choose the second opacity. Feel free to change the setting of the last one if it's needed. That works. So now what I want you to do, you can choose any of these two layers, doesn't matter what order it's in, but now I want you to choose a very light color. Now, I would personally recommend choosing from the light source color palette. So I'm gonna take that from the fire, from the little torch that he's holding. And then what I want you to do is basically do the exact same thing you did with the shading, but the opposite direction. And you're gonna see what I mean once I'm done with it. So so I still kind of like want that effect. Anyway, so you're gonna want to do the exact same thing. And the reason why I say this is because it will actually like make the colors of the lighting that we're gonna be doing next pop a lot more, because it kind of like adds this sort of gleam effect that doesn't just come from normal rim lighting, which is what I am going to be doing next. It's less rim lighting and more highlights, to be honest. It's another struggle, pretty much. It's the same struggle as dark. It's the same struggle as dark characters on dark shading. It's the same struggle with light characters and lighting. It's horrible, but it's easy once you get the hang of it. But as you see, I am very not the hang of it yet. Now, yeah. So, feel free to critique me on this little Grimmkin looking thing. Well, it is a Grimmkin. I literally yanked an image of one from Google just so I knew how to draw one. Yeah. May or may not be drawing this guy just because, you know. Listen, I've been playing Hollow Knight a lot. I can't fucking resist my urge. No, fuck you! I don't care that my Apple Pencil is gonna die. I don't give a shit. I'm gonna be screaming at myself right when this is over. So it's pretty much the same thing. You don't have to worry about anything. Just keep that pretty low. But don't keep it low enough where it isn't like noticeably a highlight. I'd say this is pretty good, but that's just me. And now you're gonna be wanting or choosing a second, much more lighter shade, and then you're gonna line it. Now, do not fill anything once you're done with this part. Anything. I mean anything. Now we're just gonna be relying on the rims, and that's it. And we're almost finished. Now here's where what I said about being afraid to use setting comes in. It's not lazy. In fact, it's really helpful, and I'm just trying to say, use them more often. Bloom is an incredibly useful tool for this next part, because you actually get this pretty neat effect. Now, I'm actually very proud of how, I didn't even have to go that far with the bloom. I'll go back in editing to show you how far I went for it. But now we get to an interesting part. Now, this part is completely optional, but it will definitely make your art look better in this terms of lighting if you use this particular tactic. You're gonna want to use the freehand tool and just go around your rim lighting on the same layer as you were with the same thing. What I'm trying to say is you'll see. I'm just a load of fucking mess today, as you can tell. And pretty much every second you get, do this with the outside. Now, I'm not going to worry about this part, because that's where the actual light source is coming from. And just erase it. Just erase it. Now, this will make it look more natural. In terms of lighting, you don't need to worry about pretty much anything there. Although I do have to kind of worry about these little top areas, because they can get kind of tricky to maneuver. There's just one more, and that's this little part of his hand. What even is that? It's like a glove or something, I don't know. But you just do the same thing over with. Same thing here. I don't have a background laid out for him, but that's pretty much how I do it, so, bye!